Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the newly released Transformers Generation Selects Deluxe Class Spin-Out and Cordon 2-pack. Finally, two of the first Diaclone figures to be released on the mass market by Hasbro and Takara Tomy, and this set here actually marks the first ever time that we are getting mass-produced products here for Spin-Out and Cordon based on their Diaclone appearances. Now if these figures here look familiar to you, that is because they are merely repaints and in Cordon's case a slight retool of the Transformers Earthrise Deluxe Class Sunstreaker. However, for those of you who are familiar with the character designs, you'll know that that's essentially exactly what all three of these characters were. They were basically the exact same character models with slight variations in terms of their colour scheme, and where Cordon is concerned, slight variations in terms of the actual moulding. And in my opinion, these are great alternatives for those of you who do not want to pick up the extremely expensive masterpiece versions. To begin with, of course, we'll kick things off here by taking a look at Spin-Out, as his MP release is just around the corner, and believe me, when I do get that figure, I will be giving you a direct comparison between him and this actual Generation Select figure. Taking a look here at the head sculpt, I think that Hasbro have done a really nice job with this figure. Now, of course, as this is the exact same mould as what we got with Sunstreaker, I won't be going into extreme detail, but you can see as far as the mould is concerned, it is exactly the same. I've got to say that I love the colour of red that they have used with this figure, and unlike Sunstreaker, they have indeed colour matched the painted red and the actual moulded in red plastic. That was something that unfortunately we didn't get on Sunstreaker in terms of his yellow plastic and yellow paint, but you can see that we've got some nice black details here at the top of his shoulders. The forearms have been completely cast in a black plastic, and I love how they've spray painted the underneath of this section in a silver, and it complements the blue transparent plastic really nicely. That, in my opinion, is a fantastic touch. As we take a look here down to the shins, of course, we do have that additional layer of black detailing, which has got some fantastic sculpt work. Taking a look here at Cordon, this here is the more slightly interesting figure out of the two, in my opinion. I think that the head sculpt there really does pop with the red accents there on the sides of the helmet. You've got the blue eyes as well as the metallic silver there for the faceplate. We don't get any form of paint applications here on the shoulders. However, we do get an entirely new resculpted section, that being this torso piece. You can see that the actual light bar is integrated into the sculpt and cannot be removed as I initially suspected, and the actual look of this is slightly altered when compared to some of the promo images, in the sense that this time it is a transparent red plastic than as opposed to a solid red. Where that does fall slightly short though, in my opinion, is that they have not painted the underneath of this section, which was actually shown on the promo images. The promo images did show this being completely painted in a very similar way here to Spin-Out, so I'm really unsure as to why they did miss that detail out here for Cordon, as we are left with this horrible black hinge joint which we will use for transformation, which certainly detracts from the overall look in my opinion, and it would have been so easy for them to just cover that up using the silver paint under this section. But nonetheless, you can see that we do have the Autobot insignia there underneath the light bar, and I think the light bar sculpt work has come out really nicely. As we take a look here down to the lower section, of course the sculpt work is for the most part the exact same. In terms of articulation, this mould here is very well articulated, so of course we get the ball joint here at the head, which can look up and down, tilt side to side, as well as look left to right. Hinge joints here at the shoulders, as well as the full 360 rotation at the shoulder as well. We can also hinge this section here back and forth. Full 360 rotation here at the bicep, as well as a 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Full 360 waist rotation. The legs can kick forwards that far, back that far, and of course out to the sides. Full 360 rotation here at the thigh, as well as a 90-degree bend there at the knee. And then finally, of course, we get the signature War for Cybertron trilogy ankle rocker pivot. So overall, as far as the mold and the overall design and color scheme of these figures are concerned, I think that they have turned out really nicely. It's just a shame that they didn't paint the undersection here for Cordon's chest plate. In terms of accessories, unfortunately, we only get the same weapons that we saw on Sunstreaker, that being this back attachment, which in my opinion looks a lot better attached to their backs than being used as blasters. And seeing as these figures here are for the most part direct repaints, it would have been nice if Hasbro and Takara Tomy could have given us some accessories with these characters, perhaps some additional guns. Even if they just repacked some of the accessories from the Centurion drone set, I probably wouldn't have any issues with that whatsoever. But of course, we only get these pieces here at the back, which I won't be detaching, as in my opinion they look ghastly as blasters. But as far as their overall designs look, I think that they have come out really nicely. And now, in terms of comparisons, let's bring out Earthrise Sunstreaker. I think that these three here make for a great set, and it's a really good use here of the Sunstreaker mold. So Hasbro and Takara Tomy certainly was correct in giving Sunstreaker an entirely new mold, than as opposed to just reusing Wheeljack's sculpt, which many of us initially thought. As the transformation for both of these characters are identical to one another, I will only be showing it on one of the figures, and then of course just taking a look at the other in the vehicle mode. So to begin with, you're going to want to turn your attention here to the back and just take this, snap that into place. We can then overlap this section and of course collapse that down. Repeat the same process here for this side. We can then disengage this section, bring this here all the way up and snap that nice and securely into place. Of course, come here to this side and repeat the exact same process. Bring these sections here together, tab them in there also. Come here to the wrists and of course fold those into the hollow cavity. What I then recommend doing is rotating this here all the way around, and I love the engineering on this piece. You can see how it completely clears. There is literally barely a millimeter of clearance. That, in my opinion, is some fantastic calculation on Hasbro's part. We can then take the windscreen, fold this section here forwards and snap that nice and securely into place. However, once again, similarly to Sunstreaker, it doesn't like staying tabbed in all that well. We can then take the head, fold that here into the cavity. Once again, do another rotation, which clears really nicely. Rotate this section here around. We can then take this, rotate this section around, and of course, collapse that in. Bring this section down and snap that nice and securely into place. Of course, repeat the exact same process here for this side. And here we have Spin Out fully transformed up into his vehicle mode. Of course, I'll transform Cordon and then we'll take a closer look at them in their vehicle modes. And so here we have both Spin Out and Cordon fully transformed up into their astounding looking Lamborghini Countach alt modes. And as stated earlier on in the review, if you want a cheaper alternative to the Masterpiece releases, especially here for Cordon, as he's quite difficult to actually find nowadays, then these figures in my opinion are going to be great pickups. Taking a look here at Spin Out's vehicle mode, you can see that once again it is exactly the same to what we got with Sunstreaker. However, this time done in the red, black and blue colour scheme. I think that it looks absolutely terrific. You can see, taking a look here at the rims, these have been completely decked out in an awesome metallic silver. We of course do have the air filter here at the top, which is so nicely detailed there with the incredibly crisp sculpt work. You saw here in what I was mentioning earlier on in regards to the paint applications, whilst not spot on, in my opinion it is a close enough approximation between the colour of painted red and the colour of moulded in red plastic. This looks so much nicer than what we got with Sunstreaker. Once again, you can see that they have painted the undersections here in a metallic silver, which really complements the overall sculpt in my opinion rather nicely. We've also got some nice silver paint here for the front headlights as well as a black strip. Taking a look here at the rear end of the vehicle, once again we've got some nice black details and of course just a completely black coloured plastic here at the back. So as far as Spin Out is concerned, I think that he looks really awesome, and as mentioned in my Sunstreaker review, is certainly a contender for the upcoming Masterpiece figure. Taking a look at Spin Out, of course the more interesting out of the two due to him having an entirely new sculpted chest plate. You can see that the light bar there looks really awesome. You can see there that we've also got the Autobot insignia, but something which I cannot look past is how ugly the transparent plastic looks without having been painted in that same metallic silver that we saw on both Sunstreaker and Spin Out. I think that this looks awful, and I have no idea as to why Hasbro and Takara Tomy did miss this out. Initially, when I did open mine out of the packaging, I thought that this was a quality control issue on mine. However, looking at other reviews online, I can assure you that this is what many of the other sets do indeed look like, and seeing as the promo images did show this here as being completely painted, it is a shame that they didn't decide to go with the initial version. But taking a look at the side of the vehicle, you can see very crisp and precise black paint apps here for the sides as well as where the door handles would be. Once again, silver painted rims. As we take a look here at the back, this too has been completely cast in a black plastic, and we also do have the same air filter here at the top, sculpted really well as well as painted impeccably well. Both of these figures can roll tremendously along the ground despite them having plug-on wheels than as opposed to my preferred pinned-on wheels. And here for a comparison, let's bring out the Transformers Earthrise Deluxe Class Sunstreaker, and here we have all three of the Lamborghini Countach brothers in their alt forms, and I've got to say that they make for a fantastic looking trio. And as mentioned earlier on in the review, if you are looking for a cheaper Masterpiece alternative, I certainly think that all three of these figures are great, especially when compared to their significantly more expensive counterparts. Something which is worth noting is that I have actually found the tabs here for the chest plate to peg in a lot more securely where this windscreen is concerned on both Spin Out and Cordon. You can see that just looking at it here, it does align up a lot better than what we got with Sunstreaker, which for the life of me I just cannot get to sit flush, and I know that this was an issue that many people did have on their copies. So it is nice to see that for the most part they have appeared to slightly tighten up the tolerances here with Spin Out and Cordon. So as far as vehicle modes are concerned, I think that they are pretty much spot on to their original Diaclone counterparts. And so some final thoughts. As far as repaints go, I think that Spin Out and Cordon have turned out really nicely. For those of you who are a fan of the original Diaclone series, then these two figures here are going to be must-haves to have in the collection, and it's actually really nice that Hasbro and Takara Tomy are now catering for a much broader range of continuities than as opposed to just sticking with, of course, the traditional Transformers Generation 1 series. As mentioned in my Sunstreaker review, I think that it is a great mould, and this time for Spin Out, I think that he looks terrific, and for the most part, I think that Cordon has turned out rather nicely as well. It's nice to see them retool the mold in order to give him a slightly more accurate representation. It maybe would have been nice if they could have slightly altered the face sculpts in the robot mode. However, for me, that's certainly not a massive drawback. And really, my only gripes of this set do lay in the lack of accessories that we get with them, and of course, where Cordon is concerned, with the lack of paint applications for the front windscreen. Overall, if you can find this set and are after a cheaper alternative to the MP releases, then this set here I think is going to be a must-have, especially as mentioned earlier on, if you are a fan of the Diaclone series. I really hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.